thank everybody for coming. Looks like we got a pretty good group. Again, my name is Susan Bullen. I do run a little, I call it my health ministry, natural health ministry. It's called Cleansing Power to Be. I was in with alkaline ionized water with another company, and then a year ago, last October, God actually brought the man I'm fixing to introduce to you into my life, and he changed my life with Echo Water. And it's been a very, very good journey for the last year. Again, going back to the man that I'm fixing to introduce, he's been in this industry for over 10 years. He came into the industry because of his wife's health, and now he's in 10 countries with Echo Water, which is only 3 years old. He's the developer and founder and president of Synergy Science and Echo Water. We've got thousands of sales agents now, and he's sold over 130,000 machines. And again, like I said, he's in 10 countries. Very, very spiritually oriented person and part of my family. God has put us together, and the way that we look at Echo, or I do, and I know that he feels the same way, we are a family. If you're in Echo Water, you are family. He runs his business like family. It's all with love, and it's a very, very amazing company. And he has grown tremendously in the last 3 years. And the last year alone, I can't even tell you how much the company's grown. Back at the first of this year, I was at his office, and then I've been at the office 3 or 4 times this year and watched the growth. And he's actually put a team together now that I believe will be very, very supportive and with love to help all of us grow. And I can tell you, if he's there if you need him, there's nothing that he wouldn't help you do. All you have to do is let him know. And anybody and the corporate office is different because it is supportive, and you do call the corporate office. You don't have to rely on outside sources. And again, I just want to emphasize, this is a family, and we want it to grow just like a family with lots of love. And again, give everybody a hand for Mr. Paul Baratero.
Thank you for that, Susan. You're sweet, sweet, sweet. I like it when other people do, because I don't like talking about myself much. So it's better that I leave that for someone else to do. But I wanted to thank each of you for coming out today, and grateful for Susan and for those that have put this meeting together. I'm grateful. I'm from Orlando, so I'm enjoying your cool weather. We had a heat wave last week. It was like 91, 92 degrees every day, and I'm like, is it August and I just missed it or what? But it's been nice to be here. So thank you all on a Saturday morning coming out to be together. So what we're going to talk about today is amazing. And Mike had a beautiful tee-up for this, and I'm glad that your sweetheart, we could get her hot flashes, because I have a wife who used to do the same thing. And years ago, when she got pregnant, she used to turn the air conditioning in the whole house down. So I went and hired someone to come put a ceiling fan just in our master bathroom, because we have 12-foot ceilings, but it's strange saying there's a fan in your bathroom, right? So anyways, I would do that because it would save the whole house going down into a frozen zone. And so it was much better. So I completely understand. But we'll go into a little bit about what Mike was alluding to as far as temperature of the body when you are drinking the water and what causes that. We'll go into that a little bit just from an education perspective. A little background on myself, just so, in addition to what Susan's saying. I'm a practitioner, so for years I have worked with patients with diabetes in the medical field, and I've lectured at Oklahoma State University. I was an adjunct teacher at OSU and also at St. Petersburg College in Florida, teaching about diabetes epidemiology and what have you. So my background is medical. And roughly 10 years ago, my wife had thyroid and gynecological issues, girl stuff, right? And we used to lose her almost a week a month. And any of the husbands out there who love their wives and their wives are going through things like this, it's painstaking, because if you can't do anything about it, it's just not fun to watch, and you just feel helpless. Well, someone had come to me and said, hey, I heard about this water that maybe can help her. And we were actually going on a cruise with this couple, and they brought 8 gallons of water with them. And I thought it was the strangest thing, because I told them, they have water on the ship. I've been on cruises, and I promise you, they have water there. And they're like, no, you don't want to drink the toilet water. You got to drink this amazing thing. Okay. So I said, that's fine, no problem. Well, for me, when I drank the water the first time, I wasn't off the ground. I didn't sprout wings or anything, because I was extremely healthy and no issues. But my sweetheart immediately felt something and said, honey, there's something here. I feel something going on. And she drank all 8 gallons that they had brought for us. This was a 9-day cruise. So in 9 days, she drank 8 gallons and then started drinking their water. And she was feeling much better. And then when we got home, she started going and getting water from them. And I'm going, this is the strangest thing. Like, she's going every day. And this is my wife, right? I know where I live. We 21 years marriage. I'm grateful for her. So, I know who she is and what she eats, because we spend a lot of time together. But I watched over weeks her improve. And so I, as a practitioner, had to say, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's something to this, and I don't understand the mechanism, and I want to understand the mechanism, because water cannot do this. Water has no ability to do that. So what is the real mechanism? And that's what we're going to learn today, is what is being carried or delivered to the body through the water that comes out of our machine. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So put on your science caps a little bit, because it is science. We're going to talk a little bit about studies, scientific studies that show us some wonderful things. We're going to talk about some information that you probably haven't heard before, and that's hopefully exciting, worth your time coming. So EcoWater, hydrogen enriched. There's your first secret. We are going to be talking about molecular hydrogen today. Molecular hydrogen, diatomic hydrogen, or H2 gas. And it's a medical gas. That's what we'll be talking about. And we'll move forward. So let's talk a little bit about water in general. I think we all have it around us, right? There's not a problem in this country getting water that we can consume. We may not like all the things in it. We may have issues with pipes and different things, and all kinds of conversations with fluoride and metals and pesticides and pharmaceuticals and all kinds of things that are in water. But I will tell you that it's not difficult to get water that you can consume. There are other places on this earth where people die daily because they cannot get potable water, and it's just not available for them. And it's staggering to think. But we have tap water here, very inexpensive, most every home. We know that there are some things in it, but at least we know we could drink that. We have bottled water. We know that there are harmful chemicals. In fact, there was a study a year and a half ago that came out, 24,500 harmful chemicals in a bottle of water. That's staggering to think about. That they did a study of the top 18 brands, so they're not picking on anybody. It's the top 18 brands of bottled water. They all had 24,500 chemicals. Why? Because of the bottles. It's not the water. The water could be the most pristine water you ever imagine in your life, but when they injection mold these plastic bottles, they immediately fill them. And so all the gassing off and the chemicals in the process of heating the plastic up and letting it cool goes right into the water, and then we drink it in. And anyone that wants that study, we can get that to you, but it's very scary what these plasticizers do, from ability to give birth and versus sterility in females, early puberty, all kinds of things that start to happen. How the body actually deals with gender, or what's called androgenic and estrogenic receptor activity in the body. it shuts it down. It's pretty crazy. And that's only when you drink 0.1 ounce of the bottle. That's how much. So we want to be careful of only having bottled water if it's, sometimes it's convenient. I know this. But if we limit our consumption, it's far, far better for us. We know that we have well water, and we can pull pesticides from 300 miles around. I didn't know if you know that or not, but a typical well can pull from 300 miles around for pesticides and things that are coming. So we want to make sure we're testing. If you're getting well water, make sure you test it once a year, as the EPA says. There's sulfur, iron, algae, fungus, E. coli, salmonella that can get into well water if there's a number of reasons. We have reverse osmosis as far as filtration. You all have heard of that. There's even some people that will use distilled. Now let's get to sodas, right? That's what a lot of people drink, though, is soda. I'm sure we are all aware of that. It's no surprise. And then we have sport drinks, right? Gatorade. I don't want to pick on anybody. I'm from Florida, though, and I grew up in Gainesville, so that's Gatorade. So anyways, those kind of drinks. So my foundational question is, if we have all of these things so readily available every day, why is it that when Harvard just did the study on 4,000 young people aged 6 to 19, that 54.5% of them were chronically dehydrated? Why is that? If it's so easy for us to get water in our life, why is it that over 50% of the population are chronically dehydrated?
They're not drinking water.
Right. So why aren't they drinking water? If the answer is they're just simply not drinking water, which we know this is the case, why is it that people don't drink water?
Taste.
There you go. There you go. It's the taste. Either it's tasteless or there is some taste to it, and we don't like that taste, right? It tastes like metal or it tastes like this. So that's one of the main things you'll learn in this presentation too, that we have a beautiful filtration mechanism in our system. We don't have a real simple filter. We have a very involved filter that removes metals and pesticides and all these things. So that, I love it when people drink our water. And I had a gentleman, he was 73, I think, and this was about 6 months ago. He drank the water and he's like, oh my gosh, I haven't tasted water like that since I was a kid in Tennessee, and the water was running down the mountain into our backyard, and I would drink that water and it tasted like beautiful spring water. He goes, and I thought, oh, that's like, you're speaking my language. But that's what we want. We want water that feels alive. We want water that feels fresh. We want water that's light and airy and feels good to us and goes into our system and doesn't sit there all day long. So pay attention to what you drink. And I'll tell you, I know there's water in sport drinks, but that doesn't mean you're getting water in the same way as when you drink water. I promise you that. So be careful. And really and truly, there is a high percentage of the population that are chronically dehydrated. And what's important to understand with that is chronic dehydration symptoms, or there are issues, pathology that comes as a result of chronic dehydration. Many diseases that we are very aware of in our society today are simply chronic dehydration, symptomatic. So we get them to start drinking water and those things go away. Isn't that interesting to think how simple that is? So let's move forward a little bit and let's get into the meat of what we're here to learn about today, which is molecular hydrogen. I don't know how many of you have heard of molecular hydrogen, but I will tell you it has become consuming in my life, because from the time that I learned about it, I love learning about it because it is so natural. As Susan said, she brought up God. He is a part of my life. And I believe, you don't have to, but I believe that He created this earth. This earth was not just popped here into orbit and it was an accident. I believe there was a purpose behind it. And hydrogen, I will promise you, hydrogen is a part of that process, and it's a part of us. And we're going to learn today what hydrogen can do in your bodies and how it should be there naturally. Your bodies were also designed or created to do certain things and to function certain ways. And when they're functioning right, then you have the benefits of hydrogen. But when they're not, we don't. And so that's what we'll see today. So what is hydrogen? We know it's number 1 on the periodic table. Why? because it's the smallest, right? It's tiny, tiny, tiny. So hydrogen is so small, it can get through glass, metal. It's such a small molecule that it will move through things, and so we have to be careful in that regard. It's a strategic antioxidant. You've heard of antioxidants before, but there are some downsides to antioxidants. Some people are taking too many antioxidants, and they're starting to find that if you take too many antioxidants, your traditional type, you'll actually get disease. Because you're wiping out the good free radicals. See, most free radicals, unknown to most people, are good for you. They're life preserving. It's only the cytotoxic or the cell damaging free radicals that we really need to get out of our system. We don't need to get rid of all free radicals because we'll be in trouble real quick. Every study they've done where people are taking high amounts of antioxidants, they had to stop the study because they're contracting disease. Some free radicals, when they donate an electron, that's how antioxidants work, is they donate an electron to a free radical to complete it. They now become a pro-oxidant because they've lost that electron, and so now the body has to deal with that. So, when you get into these things, it's important to understand. The beautiful thing about hydrogen is it doesn't do that, and we'll learn about that in a second. The way hydrogen works is not by donating, it completes something. And that's what this next thing here combines with a hydroxyl radical to create a water molecule. A hydroxyl radical is a free radical that's typically in the mitochondria of the cell. That's the powerhouse of the cell where ATP is produced. It gets into the mitochondria and it wreaks havoc. It's cell damaging. So it's HO. It's a hydrogen and an oxygen. That's what hydroxyl radicals are, right? A lot of chemistry is very simple, but it's an H and an O, a hydrogen and oxygen. So what are we talking about when we say molecular hydrogen? H2. Okay? So what do you think would happen if you took some HO and some H2? What might you create if you combine those two things? Water. That's right, H2O. So imagine if we could take a cell-damaging free radical, combine it with gas to form a water molecule, and then you've gotten rid of a free radical to create water in the cells of the body. It might be helpful, right? Might be helpful. So that's what we're doing. On a simple level is you're completing the most cytotoxic free radical or cell damaging, creating water molecules. Also, it creates homeostasis. We know about oxidation, right? I think everyone understands oxidation. We hear about it all the time. In our bodies, we have oxidative stress or oxidation. Oxygen is an oxidizer, right? Well, hydrogen is a reducer. See, that's the romantic story of water, right? The liquid that saves our life and gives life-sustaining is hydrogen and oxygen. An oxidizer and a reducer. You combine it, see, it sounds like marriage a little bit, right? But an oxidizer, the guy, no, the reducer, the female, and you put those together and it makes water, right? Something very beautiful when you have H2O. Well, this is exactly what hydrogen does. It accomplishes homeostasis in the body. So homeostasis is what we all want, right? We want to be balanced. We want to have this Zen feeling of goodness. Well, how do we accomplish that in the body? We have to balance oxidation and reduction. And that's how we accomplish homeostasis or balance in the body. And hydrogen is a very, very, very effective reducer in the body to reduce oxidation. If we can reduce oxidative stress, we reduce the body's susceptibility to pathology or disease and inflammation. It's very, very powerful. So next thing we see is stimulates ghrelin secretion. Now this comes down to certain pathology like autism, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, where you have low ghrelin secretion. Ghrelin, anyone know what ghrelin is? No. It's the hunger hormone. So have you ever felt hungry before? Right. Yeah, that's ghrelin that you're feeling. So you have ghrelin and leptin in the body. Ghrelin tells you to eat, leptin tells you to stop, right? So ghrelin is a hormone. It's a peptide. It's a peptide that tells us it programs our body to eat or not eat. And so effectively, when ghrelin is secreted in the body, and hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, stimulates that secretion, gastric ghrelin, that ghrelin will go to the hippocampus and the hypothalamus in the brain and increase cognitive ability. So it'll actually increase your cognitive ability. You'd be smarter, right? And so that's very important. So we have seen studies where it's greatly helping Parkinson's, Alzheimer's patients to be able to function again and to work. And spouses is who we hear about it from, is they're like, wow, I haven't seen them do that in 4 years. The first day they had hydrogen in their system. But ghrelin is important, and why I like ghrelin is because they are now tying low ghrelin secretion levels to autism in young children. So if that's true, which we have a study saying it is, if that's true, how do we have the problem with the body creating ghrelin? Gut damage, okay? There's a lot of issues right now on gut issue, the biome, or what's called the gut biome issue, microbiome in the gut, is damaged. A lot of things don't happen correctly anymore, and one of those things is ghrelin secretion, or low ghrelin secretion. So one study that we have shows us that low ghrelin levels lead to autism in children, but the next study showed what? It wasn't really the next, but we have the next one we can show, that shows hydrogen, or molecular hydrogen, stimulates ghrelin secretion in the body. So could that be helpful? Well, I can tell you it's completely helpful for Parkinson's, for autism, for Alzheimer's, all these neurologic disorders. Ghrelin will go, and they're actually showing that it's reversing those neurologic disorders. So imagine drinking water with a dissolved gas, being molecular hydrogen, can help a loved one that has Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. What a crazy thought that is. But I have email after email after email from spouses saying, wow, my wife, who hasn't tried to cook for 4 years, I just got her some hydrogen water for the first day, and she got up when the timer went off. It's been 4 years since she has had that cognition to do that. And so these are interesting things. That's not a study. That's just a cool email where we can be excited for that husband, right? But we do have studies showing that Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism, these things can be helped and can be reversed with hydrogen delivery to the body. So very powerful. Radiation protection, yes sir?
Are you going to talk about then how it impacts the rest of this gut
Yes.
issue?
Yes. So, because we know gut issues are prevalent, okay? And some people blame it on GMO foods, ruining the E. coli and the bacteria balance in the gut, not being able to function appropriately anymore. People call it leaky gut syndrome. There's many different things that are occurring that are causing a lot of issues in the gut. And the gut has a lot to do with the overall health, you know? So what hydrogen also does is it will stimulate microflora production in the gut, significant increase of microflora. That's what you need, because without the proper environment, the proper bacteria won't grow, and you won't have any home for them. And so by healing the gut and getting hydrogen in to support microflora and good bacteria effectively, which is a strain of E. coli, that E. coli does what? Why do we want good bacteria in our gut? What's it doing to help us? So we all talk about, oh, I want microflora, I want good bacteria in my gut. What's it doing? What's the function? I'm sorry? No? No. It's converting soluble fibers or beneficial fiber into hydrogen. One of the things that happens in the gut. So see, what's beautiful, again, we were created and designed to produce, and the typical gut that's functioning properly can produce up to 10 liters per day of hydrogen gas. Now, there's also methane, got some sulfur, right? If you got some smelly stuff coming out. But, you know, wives don't like that. So effectively, you can have the guts functioning properly, and you should have some gas, right? If you do, some people are like, I don't ever fart. And I'm like, you got problems then. Because you got some undigested food and probably some improper fermentation going on. So We actually want to have some flatulence. We'll make it a nice word, right? It's healthy because we need fiber, we need water-soluble or beneficial fiber in our diet so that we can convert that into hydrogen. And if we get hydrogen through our gut because we're eating foods that are high fiber, right? You heard about that when you were kids, probably. Eat a high fiber diet. So if we get that, then guess what? That hydrogen is going to get into our body through our intestinal tract. And it's going to, what's the result? Reduction of oxidation. And it's going to help the environment be healthy. So, my belief, and I believe very strongly, that many people are hydrogen deficient. And that sounds weird because that's a gas. You think of mineral deficiencies, people have no problem saying, oh yeah. You think of a lot of things, but I'm talking about hydrogen deficiency. And that's an interesting thought, because if all the studies show that hydrogen has these certain effects on the body, which I haven't even told you the most exciting ones yet, then there should be a normal process to get it into our system through normal living, and that is how we do it. It's through food and the gut. It converts. Through fermentation and through some other things, we get hydrogen into our system. But if we're hydrogen deficient because the strains of bacteria are no longer there to do it, then what's going to happen? Oxidation is going to continue rising in the body. And so we end up contracting pathology. It makes sense to me. So what we're doing, because I tell you, some people that drink water with high concentration of dissolved hydrogen have like a miracle event. They'll be like, oh my gosh, I felt it immediately. It changed my life. I have to have that. Here's my arm. Cut it off. I got to have that, right? Other people are like, whatever, dude. I didn't feel anything. I'm still on the ground. I don't have wings. Nothing's changed. It's good water. I feel great. There was no miracle event initially. Over time, those people will say, man, I just don't get sick as often. I can stay up later. I just feel better. My energy levels are higher. I don't know. Do you think that's what it is? Well, I say stop drinking it for a few weeks and you'll see. So what I feel is that there are people that are hydrogen deficient and there are people that are not. You can benefit from more hydrogen, but those that are deficient will have an immediate benefit and they'll feel it because you're giving the body something it's deficient. And so it's immediate. It's immediate effect. Next thing we know from NASA, NASA did a study in radiation protection with astronauts is what they were looking for, and it does do that. And then one final thing is, once we have hydrogen doing what it's supposed to do in the body and reduce oxidative stress on the cells, then the body will produce glutathione if needed in that particular cell as a repair mechanism. And so there's really, really cool things. It doesn't say it on here, but I was just in Japan a few months ago at a hydrogen, what's called a molecular hydrogen symposium, and we spent 2 days with all these researchers presenting all the data. And one of the things I learned that I just thought was amazing was there are over 200 biomolecules in the body that are stimulated, or what's called signaling, cell signaling. They are basically given instruction from hydrogen. So imagine if you have 200 biomolecules in the body, you've affected every system in your body with direction. Hydrogen is very, very powerful, and as I study more and more and more, it just becomes more and more beautiful of a story to me. But this is some things that we can understand. This is where we came to understand. This type of water has been on this earth for many years. In Japan, in 1965, the Japanese Ministry of Health, Welfare, basically made an electrolysis device, a water electrolysis machine, a medical device in the country. Which meant simply, if you make a machine that makes water over an 8.5 pH, it's considered a medical device in the country of Japan. A few years later, Korea said, hey, we agree, we'll make it a medical device as well. So any machine produced in the country of Japan or the country of Korea, it must be registered as a medical device for you to be able to manufacture and sell it, period. And that's because the government has deemed it as a medical device. If it happened here in the US, they would all have to be registered here as well. Because anytime the government says something's a medical device, you cannot sell it without approval and without it becoming registered. So the reason they did that in 1965 is because study after study after study had proven that there were digestive disorders that were helped from this water. They still didn't know the mechanism of why. They just knew that if people drank the water that had digestive issues and improper fermentation in the gut particularly, then it would fix that and it would help that. Well, when people started hearing that through the medical challenge and everyone started getting machines years ago, all of a sudden all these other things started going away, all these other diseases and things. And so the researchers had no idea really what was going on. So there have been many over the last many years from 1965 on where scientists would try and say, oh, I think it's this. And they would study it and figure out, no, 10 years later, that's not what it is. Or I think it's this. I think it's the pH. I think it's some cluster size of water. I think it's this. I think it's that. So over the years, there's been many ideas of what it is. Well, finally, and last night we had a presentation, a training meeting, but it's kind of funny that no one figured it out till 2007 when this study was published of what the actual mechanism was. And this study was a landmark study published by Nature Medicine. And Nature Medicine is the most well-received or recognized medical or science-based periodical that researchers and medical doctors utilize, and they accept it. If it's in Nature Medicine, which is a worldwide publication, then they accept it. So what did they say that really helped us all? Because everyone's wanting to know, why is it that this water is helping people? What is it about it? If it's not the pH, if it's not some cluster size, if it's not these things, what is it? Same question I was asking 10 years ago, right? Why did it help my wife? Water can't do that. Something else has to be in the water to be the mechanism of healing, and we want to understand what the mechanism is. Well, here we learned hydrogen acts as a therapeutic antioxidant by selectively reducing cytotoxic oxygen radicals. Boom. That was when everyone was like, oh my. What year was this done? 2007. 2007 is when this study. So what does it say? And we highlighted it here. Hydrogen, or H2. We have to make sure that we are talking about molecular hydrogen. H2 gas has preventative and therapeutic applications. What they're saying is they induced what's called acute oxidative stress in cultured cells by 3 independent methods. So they basically incited oxidative stress to see what hydrogen would do. That's another beautiful thing about hydrogen. If you don't need any help, hydrogen will do nothing. That's what's beautiful. Now that is the way he works. That's exactly. And so if nothing is needed, nothing is done. If you need to upregulate those biomolecules, it'll upregulate. If you need to downregulate things, it'll downregulate. What's beautiful about hydrogen is when they started doing the first studies, nothing was happening. So until they put oxidative stress, then hydrogen started working. See, they assumed if it's an antioxidant and we put it in there, it's going to do something. But it wouldn't do anything because nothing was needed. So it's very beautiful in that way. So next we go, it protected cells from ROS basically, but it didn't react with other ROS, which possess physiological roles. So it's saying it's only reacting with stuff that's harming. It's not reacting with things that are helpful. That's another major thing we like about it. And then finally it says, thus H2 can be used as an effective antioxidant therapy owing its ability to rapidly diffuse across membranes. It can reach and react with cytotoxic ROS and thus protect against oxidative damage. Very, very powerful. Now, from this study, many universities and organizations all across the world, multiple countries, began studying hydrogen because this was very powerful. Now, when I was in Japan, Shigeo Ota, we met and had lunch and talked at length at what he's doing, and it was a beautiful thing. He's an amazing guy. And just so you know, right there, always the guy right there is the #1 contributor to the study. It's kind of backwards, right? You would think they would mention him first. Nope, they mention him last in studies. He's the #1 person there. But we met many of the researchers. Effectively, this was a landmark study. It was a landmark study which stimulated far more research and studying that was happening. But I simply want you to know, right here, it's telling you it's reducing oxidative damage. That is the most critical thing you can do in your life. is reduce oxidative damage, because that is going to prevent, just as it says right here, it's going to prevent pathologies from occurring. Oxidative stress and inflammation is where you cause disease. That's where the body gives up and you contract a pathology. Okay? Let's go to the next one. This is near and dear to my heart because I spent many years working with patients with diabetes, type 1, type 2. And my world was ankle down as my scope of practice, and we were looking to prevent ulcers, foot amputations, partial amputations, these types of things. That's what I lectured all across this country and otherwise. Let's imagine for a minute what this study is saying, and we'll just read it. Supplementation of hydrogen-rich water improves lipid and glucose metabolism in patients with type 2 diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance. That's powerful. That's very powerful. Now let's look at what it was. Here they have 30 patients and 6 patients with IGT, or impaired glucose tolerance. They did an 8-week study with a 12-week washout. It was a double-blind, placebo-controlled, and a crossover study. You have right here, they were only drinking 900 milliliters of hydrogen-rich water or 900 milliliters of placebo water for 8 weeks. What happened, right? That's what we want to know. In this study, with these 36 individuals, what happened? Several biomarkers of oxidative stress, insulin resistance, glucose metabolism assessed by an oral glucose tolerance test were evaluated at baseline and at 8 weeks. Intake of hydrogen-rich water was associated with a significant decrease in levels of modified low-density lipoprotein, or LDL, cholesterol. So that was a bonus we got. 15.5% reduction in cholesterol, also in addition. Next we see cholesterol modifications increase the net negative of LDL, small dense LDL, and urinary 8 isoproteins. So by 15.5%. Hydrogen-rich water intake was also associated with a trend of decreased serum concentration of oxidized LDL, free fatty acids, increased plasma levels of adiponectin and extracellular superoxidase dismutase. And then what? Here's the kicker. In 4 of 6 patients with impaired glucose tolerance, intake of hydrogen-rich water normalized the oral glucose tolerance test. So we're talking reversal in an 8-week period of diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance. In conclusion, these results suggest that supplementation with hydrogen-rich water may have a beneficial role in prevention of type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. How powerful is that? That's a study I love because it's the real deal. This wasn't on rats, this is humans. And it's basically saying supplementation with hydrogen-rich water will do this. I've watched it. I've seen it. And it's a beautiful thing. Here's another one. Again, recent advances in hydrogen research as a therapeutic medical gas. Okay? So all this is saying is, at the end of it, it's not an overstatement to say that hydrogen's impact on therapeutic and preventative medicine could be enormous in the future. Guess what? When was this study published? Right there. We are the future. It's 2015. It's almost 2016. We're 5 years later. It is enormous. Here we're talking about it. Now, what's going to happen in the next year and a half that's going to greatly change the world? That original study that we saw was 2007. It typically takes 10 years to get to the public. So that would mean 2017. So by 2017, the public is going to be aware of hydrogen. They're going to be aware of it. There's going to be a flood of products on the market trying to get hydrogen into water and inhalation, many different methods of administration of hydrogen gas, or what would be called molecular hydrogen. Very, very, very powerful. We are playing right now with inhalation machines. I've got one in my home. My wife uses. She's always my guinea pig, but she breathes in 77% hydrogen, and seeing how it's helping and doing anything for her system. And she's my guinea pig, as I said. But this is what's happening in the machine. I want to go through the technology of what's going on. It's very simple. It's electrolysis. When was electrolysis discovered? And who discovered it? Or at least who gets credit? We'll say it that way. A surgeon in London in the year 1800. Long before us, right? We weren't around. Even our parents weren't. So in 1800, Anthony Carlisle, a surgeon in London, created a device that would do water electrolysis. Now the question I had was, why the heck? That makes no sense. Like, he's a surgeon and now he's creating electrolysis. Why would that be? And the answer is simple. 2 years before, in 1798, there was a paper that came out in the medical community saying that hydrogen can reduce oxidative damage. It's a reductive, it has reduction potential in the body to help. And so he was simply trying to create hydrogen. Now, why did it take us till 2007 to figure it out after 1965? I don't know, because sometimes we're not as smart as we should be, right, people? We kind of like, gosh, how does that work? And we do 50,000 other things when the answer was so simple, and it was right there the whole time. We know what electrolysis does. It should have been more common sense, quite honestly, because electrolysis simply does what? It breaks up water into its constituent elements. Well, what are the two elements? What makes up water in the first place? There you go. You guys were listening earlier. I like that. So hydrogen and oxygen. So effectively, that's what electrolysis does. There is no other purpose for it. It is what? It's taking a percentage of the liquid and turning part of it back into the gases that form the liquid. That's what's happening. Okay? And here we see we have H2O of water, here H2, and you've got O. You've separated it onto two sides of a membrane. And that's what's happening in electrolysis. So what we care about is that. But what we really care about is not just producing that off of the cathode, but we want to dissolve that gas into water. Just producing it's not enough. All electrolysis devices will produce hydrogen, but not all of them are designed to dissolve that hydrogen in water so that when we drink it, we get high concentration of molecular hydrogen. What I did when I developed, obviously, I wasn't alive in 1965. I didn't develop the machines. I'm not the guy who was smart enough to do that. What I did is, after 10 years of watching and selling hundreds of thousands of machines, to say, what's the problem and what's the real mechanism? Because I'm coming from a medical perspective. I don't care about marketing and hype and all this stuff. I care about what's going to happen to the individual, as if everyone was my grandma, my wife, my cousin, my uncle, my brother. I want them to be helped. And so all I care about is, let's cut through the nonsense. Let's get to what actually helps them. And if it's hydrogen, which we know it is, then let's create a machine that makes the highest concentration of hydrogen with no maintenance. Let's not give the people something to do if they want to have the benefit. Let's give it to them and make the machine produce it all the time. That was my goal. So here we have what happens in electrolysis. Now, to explain this bottom part, electrolysis's job or function is to separate gas out of the liquid of water. Well, the way that's done is because you have a cathode and an anode, negatively charged electrode and a positively, and they're very close proximity. The pH is unimportant, quite honestly, and it's a non-buffered pH. You're not going to do much with it. There's no buffering capacity of the pH of the water that comes out of these machines. You can put a few drops of lemon juice and it plummets the pH. And I'll tell you right now, if lemon juice is going to buffer the water, what do you think stomach acid is going to do? What do you think anything else is going to do, quite honestly? There's no buffering. Last night I asked the question hypothetically to see if anyone would know. But from a stoichiometric perspective, how many liters of water at a pH of 10 would it take to buffer the same amount of stomach acid as a quarter teaspoon of baking soda? So here on one side you'd have a quarter teaspoon of baking soda in your hand, a tiny, tiny amount, quarter teaspoon. How many liters of water do you think you would have to drink to have the same buffering capacity as that quarter teaspoon of baking soda with stomach acid? No, anyone? Yeah, you can answer now.
I can answer that.
Anyone on this side of the room?
2 gallons.
2 gallons. Who said that? Okay. 10,000 liters. 10,000 liters. There is literally no buffering capacity. And that's the common answer, is 2 gallons, because it seems like a lot versus a quarter teaspoon. But the reality is there's no buffering capacity. And understand, what makes up stomach acid? Hydrochloric acid. Very, very buffered. What is the pH of stomach bile? 1.5. Yeah, they learned all this last night. This side of the room is educated. So 1.5 pH is the bile. 4 is your environment, because you have things mixed. You don't just have bile or you'd be in trouble. You have an environment that's a 4 pH. Very, very buffered. You're not doing much with that. There's only a few items that will buffer, and what's going to happen when you buffer stomach acid, like people take antacids, right? When you buffer it, what does the body do?
Creates more.
Makes more hydrochloric acid, and then you have bicarbonates going in the blood, potassium or calcium, depending on your diet. But it's always an opposite reaction. Every reaction is an opposite reaction. So the body will simply react. So we can use to our advantage the fact that we have higher pH, because the stomach doesn't like it. The stomach says, that's not supposed to be in here. Let's dump that out real quick. And so the pyloric valve in the lower portion, you have a pyloric valve here and here. I mean, it's not in my chest, it's here and here. But you have two valves, and they are somewhat pH sensitive. So when you put water in that's a higher pH, it quickly dumps it into the duodenum. The duodenum has pancreatic juice, which is a pH 8, far more suitable for that water. And then it dumps it very quickly into the small intestine. And that's where water is actually absorbed, is through the intestine, not in the stomach. People think it's in the stomach. You're not absorbing water through the stomach wall. You have a mucosal lining. So what we want is for the pH. But please understand, that's the only benefit of the pH, is to get the stomach to dump it. So we have a faster gastric emptying, and we get it into the system faster. That's how the absorption happens. It's simple chemistry. So what we're doing is producing gas, and if we can keep all the minerals, see all these minerals right here? Right? Potassium, magnesium, calcium, iron. They want to bond to this electrode. Why? Because they're positively charged. They're naturally positively charged. The cathode is negatively charged, so they want to bond. They want to hang out. They like each other. Opposites attract. So that's what happens here. The problem is, if we allow those minerals to bond onto the cathode, we can no longer dissolve hydrogen in the water. We'll still produce hydrogen, but the bubbles will coalesce and will be too large, and they will come out of suspension. There won't be enough contact time and surface area to get them dissolved into the water. So we have to do what? Keep the electrodes clean at all times. They must not have any mineral buildup, ever. We have to. So what was done in 2005 is creating a patented system that we utilize that will keep these electrodes clean by simply swapping them on every use. So it's simple. What happens is there are two electrical leads that connect to all of those electrodes, and we just swap the polarity every time the machine is turned on. So this will become a positive next time, that'll become a negative, and then it'll become back to negative and back to positive. You know, might help us too. If we were male, female like that, we'd be balanced, wouldn't we? We'd be like, honey, I understand. We would, Matt. It might give us the view of both sides of the fence, right? We might be much nicer. So the reality, we wouldn't have so much scale, guys. Right? So, anyways, here we have a simple fix, but a very far-reaching benefit, isn't it? When we reverse that, all of a sudden, any tiny microscopic minerals that tried to bond will be pushed off. Because the next time this machine works, and this is no longer a cathode, it's now an anode, you're producing the opposite off of that surface, and so you're going to clean it automatically because it's constantly happening. If you wait until the minerals get hard, you can't get them off anymore because they no longer have a charge. Once they're solidified, that charge you see right there is gone and they're neutral. And so then it doesn't work anymore. So we have to do it while they're still in a wet form and while they're still there, just barely there. So it's very important. So I hope that helps a little bit. Awesome. What we do, and by swapping those, It's all the difference in the world. That takes maintenance out of a machine, and it also keeps those electrodes completely clean. There's nothing that's there. So you've heard where some people talk about mold building up in machines like this. The only time mold's going to build is if you allow the minerals to bond, because now they have food. I tell you, mold doesn't fast. Okay, mold never will stay there if there's nothing to eat. Okay, it'll stay there when there's calcium salts and there's other things that are there because it's food. You don't give it a source, it's not going to be there anymore. So that's what's important to understand. So I hope this helps you understand a major difference of why we can have machines that are years and years out in the field. And remember, I've been doing this for 10 years. I just developed Echo to be the best machine in the world in 2012. But that doesn't mean I wasn't selling machines that have the same technology prior to that. You know, I haven't sold 130,000 machines in 3 years. It's been 10 years. But we have machines that I've personally sold that are 10 years in the field, and we bring them back, and there's beautiful 1.2 parts per million of hydrogen, nothing going on with that machine. That makes me happy that we're able to do that. And we can look at those machines. Now, what I do have in the field is we have, because one of the things we do at Echo, because of this technology, we want people selling water by the gallon. We want people setting up locations. Leon does a great job with that model. But I have someone in Orlando that moves 1,500, 2,000 gallons a month out of our machines with zero maintenance, a year and a half already. So you take a year and a half times 1,500 gallons, that's a year and a half of usage in a residence, right, per month on a machine. So we can study our machine by having Tracy Teclaw, Susan was there with me. She's got multiple machines, people filling up every day, and we've gotten 25 years of usage already out of the machine because we can study that and go, it's still amazing. We can open the cell, look at everything, close it back up, and keep on rocking. And it's like, this is beautiful. It's working great. You know, we have no issue. So we have a very proprietary electrode shape. And so many companies from 2005, when this was developed, have tried to copy what they do. Now, we're not the only company. In the electrolysis for drinking water, we have this done. When you go outside of the little world of drinking water, you get to another world of Brown's gas production with electrolysis, and you get to hypochlorous acid production for hotels and commercial cleaning machines. And they all use a form of this kind of electrode design because of the efficiency. It's just like cell phones. They used to be big, right? Now they're small and they can do like 1,000 times more than they ever did. We could compare a computer from 10 years ago to a smartphone, and this would be a joke compared to what a smartphone can do with quad-core processors, and the thing is tiny, right? Imagine where we've come when you allow science and smart people to do some stuff. They create amazing things. Well, the same thing is true here. Why simply put a flat piece of metal and make that? If we could study and say, is there a way to make this more efficient? Years ago, they did that in the air conditioning or heating or vehicles. They have filters, right? An air filter. Well, they made bigger engines and they needed more filtration. Well, either you're going to create a filter this big or you pleat it, right? You fold it to give yourself more surface area. Simple design, but it makes a small filter, but far more surface area. Well, basically, it's the same thing here. We have 10 times the surface area because of that design. And what will typically happen is this is where the electricity goes to this electrode, is through this post. So if this was a solid electrode, for instance, which we do have 2 solid electrodes in the machine, and we have 7 of these. You have what's called a bookend electrode. They're solid, so water doesn't go past. The point in all the thing is we could put whatever we want, but this is far more efficient. When electricity flows here, this design causes it to fan out and go across the whole surface area instead of creating a little river of, or a path of least resistance that will happen with a solid electrode. That gives you all the surface area being used far, far more effective. So each one of these little points of contact can create hydrogen. And on the other side can create hypochlorous acid. Okay? So the efficiency increase happens for hydrogen. It also happens on the other side for HOCl, or hypochlorous acid. And we can convert 100% of the chlorides in water into hypochlorous acid instead of only 30% that we do with the salt electrodes. It's just simple science and understanding performance. When we change the polarity, as I talked about, we also have to change the flow through the electrolyte. And this is an old chamber. That's actually not what the chamber in the new machine doesn't look anything like that. But there's still the 2 solenoid valves that are causing the water to go where we want it to go. And that's what happens there. You see these little gold leads right there? That's what that's connected to. And there would be a blue and a red wire coming off of there, and that's where the polarity change comes. But there's 4 patents just on this right here that you're looking at that involves that process to make sure that there is no maintenance needed on the electrolysis chamber. It doesn't mean that you may not have maintenance needed on the machine ever, ever, ever. It means to produce hydrogen and to keep those electrodes completely clean, there is nothing you ever need to do. Okay? So here is the type of water that we do produce. Everyone asks, well, how come there's 2 types of water come out of the machine? One, we have the H2 water, and we learned about hydrogen and why that's important, right? From a medical benefit. Now, I showed you 3 studies. We have over 600 at this point that we have found that show what? Hydrogen has a therapeutic benefit with 150 human diseases so far. So my favorite one is a colon cancer one that I just spoke at in England a few weeks ago on colon cancer, and they showed that it stopped colon cancer. So that study showed what was happening. The company that funded it is a chemotherapy company. So here you've got a drug company, a pharmaceutical company, who wants to find out how hydrogen can react with cancer, and so they're adding it into their chemotherapy drug called 5-fluorouracil. So it's a new chemotherapy drug that's coming out that has hydrogen in it. Why? Because hydrogen stopped cancer. But especially when used with 5-fluorouracil. So that's what their study shows at the end, and it's a great study. But that's why we would want to drink this water. Drinking, cooking, detoxifying, hydrating, great cleaning agent. Now, on the other side of the water right here, we have cleaning water. And you have O2 and HOCl, and that L should be lowercase. But HOCl, killing power, but it's a very good natural astringent. It'll kill E. coli, Salmonella, MRSA, staph, those kind of things on contact. And we have 35 to 50 parts per million of hypochlorous acid coming out of our machines without having to add any enhancement. And that's what's important to understand, is that we do not need to add salt. And the last thing on earth you would ever do to an electrolysis chamber is add salt, because it throws conductivity through the roof, and it can erode platinum very quickly off the surface because of the salt. So not a good thing to do, really. So we don't add any kind of salt. We don't have any calcium sulfide in our filters. We don't have any salt injection, any mineral injection that's even possible in our machine. We use what's there. All water source has chlorides in it, naturally. And in city water, you have chlorine. When chlorine goes through a carbon filter, what's it turned into? Chloride. So we get additional chlorides. And when chlorides go through electrolysis, they turn into hypochlorous acid. And that's the process. It's just basic chemistry. Okay? So this is the two types of water, and there are benefits and usages for both. You know, in fact, I had looked at coming out with a machine that doesn't make the other side of the water. I've got a machine that'll do 2.5 parts per million of hydrogen at neutral. We have it sitting in the office. And my wife's like, "You're kidding me. I use the acid water even more than the drinking water to kill stuff and rinse the vegetables and do all that stuff." I'm like, okay, I better listen. Because this woman has been given to me as a blessing to help me not make mistakes, right? So I'm like, okay. If my wife, who knows about hydrogen, is saying, "Hey, don't take my acid water away," So anyways, let's talk about the product for a second. First of all, we have the new Echo 9 that just got launched a couple weeks ago. So it's an amazing new machine that is more robust, far, far, far more robust than the Echo 7 was, because we want to be able to handle water up to 1,000. You know, we have some that's 1,000 TDS. We got to be able to handle that water, and all the way down to 23 TDS. So what I did when I designed, after coming through years of experience, I listened to women because I'm smart. Okay, I have learned in my life that they are there for a reason. When God said it is not good for man to be alone, He meant that. It wasn't a joke. Okay? We are a problem left to ourselves. Okay? We need these sweethearts in our life. So understand there is a reason, men, that we have women in our lives, is to balance us. It's like why we need hydrogen. Okay? It's a reducer. It helps us.
There's good hydrogen and bad hydrogen.
That's true. I agree.
You gotta pick the good one.
There you go. Thank you.
Be careful.
You got a room full of women. So, I agree with that. I have seen some examples of what you're alluding to. So, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We need that. We need that. And so we can be helped. And so we can help. And what did I learn? Most women don't want that machine sitting on their counter. Okay? Let's just be real. If they have a choice, they're going to choose to have that beautiful big machine underneath the counter. Okay? And if we can put this on their counter, it's much better. All right? So what I did was to develop a system that answered the reality of what people want instead of trying to force people to do what we want them to do, right? So we ended up with a faucet that's a full metal faucet with both waters that will come out, okay? The cleaning water and the drinking water. And all of your settings are right here, all touch just like on the front of the machine. And it connects to the machine right here. It's designed to do that. And all you see on top of the counter is that. It's beautiful. Yes, sir.
Can we get a sample for our store?
Sure. We got plenty of them in stock. So understand, we have chrome and satin. We have two finishes to try and complement. We have not done oil bronze yet. We're working on that. I have to buy 300, and I've only had 5 orders so far, so I just kind of... So, and these are not inexpensive. This is a full metal faucet with electronics, and it's not a cheap little faucet. So, understand that you can put the machine on top of the counter, and at any time convert to this. The design of it is to be modular. The design is to, if you're renting today and you buy in a year and a half, all you got to do is get the faucet and convert it. But I can tell you, most people would rather have this on top of the counter. Men don't care. See, we learn about ourselves again. They're like, look, it's God good to me. What do I care about more counter space or not? I don't use the counter space I got, right? So women are like, what are you talking about, honey? We got to have that clean. We don't want... See, it's different. It's different. You have to understand. So I created a faucet to answer the female, because who is in that kitchen more typically? The man? Really? Okay. So the reality is, you know, we have some people that love the faucet and some people that are happy having the machine. So we have both options for them. But that's what we have here is all that, and all the programming is there. These 4 little round circles, those are LED lights that change colors: green, orange, blue. Depending on what water you have coming out, they'll change colors to let you know. So I'm going to leave this up here. Anyone that wants to, whatever. So that's the machine option. Now I don't have 50 machines because I don't want 50 machines. We just added the Echo 9, and the last 15 Echo 7s will go away and they'll be gone. We won't keep them because as we design something new, that's the best. And I don't want to sell something less than the best. That's just the model that I've chosen. Why sit there and have a half an hour conversation with someone about why they should choose this one or that one or this one or that? Listen, just get the best. If it's your health, why are you going to sacrifice health for $300? And if they're financing it, it's $3. I mean, no one's going to choose it, right? So if it was $5 more for the car with all the bells and whistles, no one would own cars without the bells and whistles, right? There's too much of a premium, that's why it's still a choice. In this case, we don't make it that much of a premium. We want them to have the best, and that's all we make. And so we do that. All right? Let's talk about filtration. Filtration is very, very important, in my opinion. I hope it's in yours as well. But the way water tastes is greatly going to change the habits of the individuals with the machine. If it tastes nasty, they're not going to drink it. If it tastes amazing, they're going to drink it, love it, and tell everybody they know. Okay? So we know we have to make water that tastes good. So this is the filter that we choose, or that I designed effectively, and here it's a tourmaline, and I want to explain what that is because there's some crazy information out there. Tourmaline is simply a gem from Asia, and it's been put into small balls here, and what it does is it emits a piezoelectric frequency when it's under pressure. So as water runs past it under pressure, there's a slight pressure on the media, and it will emit a far infrared energy. That's all it does. There's nothing else being added into. They're balls. They're ceramic balls. There's nothing going out. They don't change. It's just about energy, and detoxification is the purpose of that first one. Then here we use a very specific activated carbon from Japan. And it's called Kuraray is the brand, and it's a highly activated from coconut husk. And that's very, very specific. Then we get into a KDF 55. KDF is zinc and copper. That's how the media is put together. That removes pesticides and metals, and that's why it's there. Now, why do we have it sandwiched in between two layers of carbon? Because believe it or not, the KDF material will lengthen the life of that carbon for 6 times. So that way we can get a full 1,000 gallons. Instead of typically filters will give you a high amount, but they're not really working that long. This one, because of the KDF, it will recharge or help that carbon to last longer so that we can get chlorine out. Now, the media here and here is NSF, so is KDF 55, which is a patented media, and it's under the U.S. government as an anti-pesticidal. It's registered as an anti-pesticidal. Okay? So let me talk about one thing to be specific. Here it says we remove fluoride. I added that because everyone asked me, and it saves a question. But the truth is, the filter itself does not remove fluoride. It's actually extremely difficult to remove fluoride. We would have to have a filter almost the size of a small SUV to remove fluoride. Where we're removing fluoride is in the electrolysis itself. So going back to that electrolysis conversation where we're producing hydrogen and hypochlorous acid, fluoride is a metal. Most of fluoride is a metal, and that metal will go over to the acid side of the water. So in electrolysis, if the electrolysis is functioning efficiently, then you'll move fluoride over majority of it. If it's not functioning, then you'll remove very little or none. But in ours we do, and we can remove 50-60% of fluoride. Good news is the EPA just lowered in half the levels of fluoride allowed to be in the water in the United States of America. So it used to be 1.4 parts per million was the legal limit. Now it's 0.7. So they lowered the legal limit of fluoridation in water countrywide to be the limit being 0.74. That's 0.74 part per million. Well, if we're removing 50%, then we've got 0.3, roughly, parts per million. Now, that's a very small amount. What I would say to you is we do have a fluoride-specific filter that has bone char and activated alumina in it. That's the only material that's been shown to be effective And we will, if there's someone that says, listen, I want as much hydrogen, 100% if you can get it out of the water, we'll give them a free fluoride filter. So anyone that purchases our machine that wants 100% of fluoride gone, we give a free fluoride specific filter. And then the first one's free. After that, every 6 months they have to replace that for $50. And so that's good. Some people say, listen, getting rid of most of it's good enough for me, because it's really difficult to get fluoride out of your diet. You can choose toothpaste better, you can do these things, but you're never going to get rid of it, because all naturally occurring bodies of water have fluoride. There's 5 types of fluoride. They're all the same when you break them down. One is from aluminum manufacturing, and that's the one they put in water. The others are naturally occurring in water, period. And from a molecular perspective, it's all the same. It's just like saying vitamin C is different if it comes from an orange or a lemon. It really isn't that much difference. So effectively, fluoride is in all water sources. In fact, some well water has 10 times the amount that's in municipal water. So if you're eating vegetables, which I surely hope you are, organic or not doesn't matter, they were irrigated at some point, probably from well water, and it had a lot of fluoride. So you got fluoride in the vegetables. You cannot get away from fluoride. If you eat foods out of plastic containers, you're going to have fluoride in your food, because it's in the plastic. So I don't want anyone to freak out and have these crazy things. The reason the scare on fluoride is because of the study from Harvard that was done showing that fluoride can affect brain function and make you dumb, right? But what people don't say is the study said when you get to 40 parts per million is when that starts to affect you in that way. We're far, far away from that. So I do say lower fluoride. It's unnecessary to take it systemically. You know, if you want to rub it on your teeth and try to help your teeth, that's fine. But systemically ingesting fluoride to help the bony prominence in your body, no. Lower it, definitely. Make some good choices. But don't freak out. There's no need to be fear-based. There's no need to like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm going to die tomorrow or whatever. That's not the case. We do remove fluoride. We do a very good job of it. But it's very difficult to remove 100%. And anyone that will tell you they do is really sharing false information, because it's quite difficult to remove it. Okay? Here is the NSF on the carbon that we use. Yeah, again, Kura Chemical Company. We get it from facility number 1. This is NSF and the ANSI rating. Okay. These are just some of the things that back us up. The company that I have used, that's the actual manufacturer, was the original manufacturer in Korea. That's why I used them. And they are great. They manufacture for many other companies, and those companies have their own criteria of quality. They OEM the Echo brand, and because of my relationship with the president of the company that's gone back a long time, and we're one of their largest customers now, they give us their best of the best, always. They always reserve stuff for me because of our relationship, because I'm over there with them often. And I know his daughter, and we're good friends, right? My mom always taught me, you get more bees with honey than you do. So bottom line is, you know, that's why we produce what we do and have the best of the best. It's a great relationship. And not all companies want the best of the best. You know, there's a whole part of the world that doesn't want the best of the best, and they sell all kinds of products just to get by. And that's okay if that's what they want to do. For me, I don't want that, because I've learned in my life, I would rather give you the best product if it costs me a little more and have no back-end issues than to save a few pennies here and there and have problems. Because it's far more expensive for me to hire more people to put out fires, or to have machines coming back constantly and have a big repair department, than it is for me just to make an amazing machine from the beginning and never see them come back. See, I like that part. And we have a 0.5% failure rate. So we really don't have those issues. Here's some of the things. Our registration number is number 610 as a medical device with the Korean FDA. You know, it is a medical device. That all machines, as I said earlier, are a medical device if they're produced in Japan or Korea. This is the warranty that I proudly put on this product that I developed. And I can tell you that we very rarely have machines come back. Very rarely. So I have no issue giving a forever warranty. No worries. And again, it even covers shipping parts, labor, and shipping both directions. So if one of our loved customers has a problem with a machine that we can't help them on the phone with, which many times we do. We had one yesterday who called, and I happened to talk to them because everyone else was busy, I guess. I picked up and said, hey, how can I help you? And they're like, Paul, this is Paul, you're answering the phone? Yeah, sure. You know? And they said, we have our leaking machine. A leaking machine. What happened? I don't know. It was fine, and all of a sudden it's not fine. I'm like, so I showed them how to pull out a tube. I said, do you see anything with a tube? Yeah, there's a little, looks like a thing on the end of it. I said, okay, cut it cleanly, stick it back in. They did it. Oh, it's not leaking anymore. Okay, great. 2 minutes on the phone. We love you. Thank you so much. Blah, blah, blah. And then off they go, off I go. Everybody's happy. And most of the issues are like that. It's very simple, But if that had not been the case, then I would have quickly sent it to one of my amazing staff. They would have gotten them a return shipping label, FedEx. All they have to do is package it up, put that label on the box. It comes to us. We repair it, do whatever's needed, and ship it right back to them. Here I'm just going to go over real quick what some of the uses are for the drinking water with molecular hydrogen in it. And then here's some things for the cleaning water that has the hypochlorous acid. It's very good for the eyes, by the way. If you're not putting into your eyes the hypochlorous acid water, it's highly beneficial. There's a major company in the industry, in the optical industry, that has just come out with a product with hypochlorous acid water that you spray in your eye to help vision and to help your eyes. Well, guess what? You got that with your machine. You don't have to buy the bottles. You don't have to do that. And then, with the Lumamist, I'll show you that real quick. We just bought this company. We just bought our first company. Yay! This is a neat device, and the company came to us because they weren't doing so well selling it, because they were a one-product company, and they had developed it for the beauty industry, and it wasn't working for them. So we have no problem selling them because it's amazing. But I showed you the picture of the electrolysis chamber and what's happening. Well, in this we have a small electrolysis chamber, a rechargeable battery, and literally you're doing on a very, very tiny, minute scale what's happening inside the machine. And so what's awesome is you just take it off, we remove, pour tap water in 3/4 of the way, put the nice little spray head back on, touch the bottom, you would instantly see bubbles coming up, and then you just spray it on your face. And it'll improve collagen production because of the hydrogen. The hydrogen in here, you have 0.8 parts per million of hydrogen, and you'll have hypochlorous acid to kill E. coli. And we've already done the tests. We have them available.
Does antibacterial?
It'll kill E. coli, salmonella, staph on contact. Yeah, it's 99.999 effective. We've done the studies.
People that use hand sanitizer, I saw 6 of these in one day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just this hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
So it can go in ladies' purses. See, I'm partial to ladies. You all know that. It can go into the. Yeah, there's no shock there. Yeah, I love the guys too, but just not the. So.
When you say tap water, clean water,
Tap water, non-purified.
non-purified.
We want the chlorine, remember, because we want to produce some. We want to produce as much hypochlorous acid. So in the bottom is the recharge port. So you have a little charging cable that comes with it. All you do, plug it in the cigarette lighter like you do a cell phone.
Is it retail?
$199. Yeah. Yes, I bought a company to sell a product for $2. No, $199. It's a rechargeable battery. We anticipate it'll last at least 3 years or so. It's great. What's nice is, again, you're producing the hydrogen and the hypochlorous acid. It mixes it into one stream and you spray it on your face. The hydrogen is going to very quickly soak into the skin, and I will tell you, you will see differences with sunspots, and you will see difference with collagen levels, the elasticity of the skin, other things very nice. And then from a killing perspective, the hypochlorous acid is very, very, very effective for killing. So people that have cuts, scrapes, burns, rashes, sunburn, eyes, you spray it in your mouth, you get in a sore throat, same kind of a thing. You can use it for many different things. You know, I just flew up here on Delta Airlines, right? And you can spray it on the tray table before you eat on that thing if you want to. There's a lot of things you can do. Carts, you know, instead of using hand sanitizer, wipes, the wipes everybody's carrying. So that's the LumaMist. Well, I'm converting it to EcoMist as soon as the next run of these devices come out. But it's a great product, great company that we bought. And now we're having fun selling them. We have no problem, you know, selling them. And it's a beautiful adjunct to the machine so that you don't have to fill up little spray bottles and carry them around. You can have it here. And what's nice is you can carry it with you. And anytime you want to just get the water potent again or whatever, you just touch it once. It's very, very nice. Very, very nice. So we have those. The other product I wanted to go over is the Echo H2 tablets. So for people that are traveling, I was just with my sweetheart in Europe for 20 days. I love it. First time to Europe. Oh my gosh. I'm glad I was there in Paris prior to yesterday.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Bless those people's hearts, but I'm grateful I was not there. And the borders are closed now. So I guess if there's a time to go, you want to go then, you're stuck there. But anyways, we were in London, we were in Paris, and we were in Italy. It was beautiful, amazing trip. We took the tablets with us because we didn't bring the machine. We took the tablets. Prior to having the tablets, I would bring machines with me where I went. If I was going to be somewhere 20 days, you better believe it, I'm going to bring a machine. And when I went to originally meet Susan, I had a machine with me in our little oceanfront condo thing. You know, I always brought it with me. But now I don't have to. Now you can bring the tablets and just drop them in a 16 or 20 ounce bottle and you'll have 5 to 6 parts per million of hydrogen. Very, very powerful. And the uses for this are if someone has rheumatoid arthritis, someone has, you know, a significant pathology or disease that you really want a lot of hydrogen, or someone that is sports enthusiast or a football player. We have pro football players, we've got athletes that use this, runners and all kinds of individuals. It will change performance, it will change a lot of things. If people have joint issues, it will actually repair. And so it's very nice. So this is a very easy way to get hydrogen on the go. There's another thing I want to talk about that is beautiful. There's a lot of people I've met lately that suffer from depression. And I feel for them, because it's a very real thing. And I tell you that the hydrogen helps with depression in a huge way. And the tablet specifically, because of the amount of hydrogen, will help them greatly. And if you have someone suffering from depression, it can help them. It can help them in a big way. So keep that in mind. From a pathology perspective, from a sports perspective, from a performance, absolutely hydrogen will increase and help you. So I highly, highly recommend that you get this into your life. You will feel a difference. If you're perfectly healthy today, let's keep it that way. If you are suffering from some things that you would rather not have anymore, you have a mechanism. These are the things that you can do. All of these skin issues and different things, psoriasis, eczema, all these kind of things, rashes, it greatly, greatly helps with those things. Even pets love the water. So now I'll tell you, here is in a bullet point what makes us different. We have an installation program even so that you don't have to worry about installing this machine in your house. We do it for you. That's another thing. When I looked at this industry and said, what is wrong with the industry? I said, nobody wants to put these machines in. The plumbers don't know how to do it because it's not a normal filtration system. It's different. And when I developed the faucet system, that requires drilling a hole in the countertop sometimes. So we developed a network of licensed and insured installers, professionals, that we have across this country, 100 of them at this point, that are on contract that do the installs for us. And it's a beautiful process. So we are not 100% perfect always in that, because some of these little cities in America, it's hard to find somebody who can go, but we do our level best to get there. We now have one person who will fly wherever we want to send them. I was blessed with this man from Dallas whose wife works for American Airlines, and he says, look, I get free flights, so don't worry about it. Send me wherever you want to send me. And I'm like, that's awesome. So basically, we'll give you installation, and that includes drilling a hole in your counter and adding an electrical outlet if you need it for the unit to be used under sink. That's included in the price of the transaction. There's no extra charge. So that's all included. We cover all that for you, in addition to the warranty, in addition to everything that we have. I am here for the consumer. I am here for the individual that wants to have their life blessed, and that's what we're all about. And the people that promote our products like that too, because that makes their life a lot easier. So here are the options. We do take checks, credit cards, an easy financing plan. It's a low monthly payment for the system, less than what many people are spending on bottled water, which we just learned has 24,500 chemicals in it. So no need for that in your life. And you can be more eco-friendly and not have so many plastic bottles being in the environment, and help your family. You know, not have to lug water back and forth from the grocery store. So this is what we have to offer, is what we do. I encourage you to try it. I'm done. That's it.